The following research proposes that an app can help the treatment and prevention of depression in college students. According to a study performed by Buchanan in 2012, 43% of college students have reported feeling too depressed to function. 62% of these students also reported feeling hopeless. Suicide is the third leading cause of death for young adults in America. Due to the pervasiveness of this illness, there is a strong need for research on how to treat and prevent it. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that affects mood, sexual desire and function, appetite, sleep, memory and learning, temperature regulation, and some social behavior. It is formed through the binding of tryptophan with tryptophan hydroxylase and results in 5-hydroxytryptamine, otherwise known as serotonin. According to a study conducted by Baylor University, college students spend 8 to 10 hours a day on their phones. This statistic provides good reasoning as to why using technology to treat depression in college students is a plausible idea. The researcher hypothesizes that an app can be created with the intent to treat and prevent depression in college students and stimulate the anterior cingulate cortex and cause the production of serotonin. The app will operate by sending reminders 3 times a day to the student's phone. These messages will consist of reminders to apply the different ways to increase their serotonin levels and messages for motivation. The current study seeks to establish a relationship between an app, peaceful reminders, and the treatment of depression in college students. 200 students at Hampton University will be recruited by the researcher sending out a flyer to all academic departments at Hampton to distribute to their students. The flyer will ask if any student is experiencing depression or depression symptoms and would like to consent and participate in the study to text YES to 1PEACERMIND. This study will be conducted using a longitudinal study. The students will be observed over the next 2 years. The participants will be informed about the study and any possible risks, which include but are not limited to pain in the punctured area from the serum serotonin level test, nausea, pain, or any allergic reaction from the contrast medium with the fMRI. After consenting, the students will be randomly assigned to the experimental and control groups. The experimental group will be exposed to the reminders sent through the app. This app will remind the students to exercise daily for 1 hour, go outside to receive sunlight for 1 hour, stay in a room with bright white light for 1 hour, and attend weekly therapy sessions with the counselor on campus, and meditate for an hour in the morning. The app will also send positive messages 3 times a day, such as "You are more than enough" and "You are equipped for greatness." Every 6 months, the participants will use a serum serotonin level test. The test will determine if the serotonin levels have been impacted by the app in the experimental group and to see if the serotonin levels change in either group. Each participant's blood will be drawn from a vein on the inside of their elbow. Before this is performed, the drawing site will be cleaned with an antiseptic. An elastic band will be wrapped around the arm to cause the vein to swell with blood, allowing the blood to flow into the vial attached to the needle when injected. The elastic band and needle will be removed, and the punctured area will be covered with a Band-Aid. The test will last about 10 minutes. The ultra-high field 7 Tesla fMRI will be used to observe the activity in the anterior cingulate cortex, hippocampus, and the medial prefrontal cortex every 6 months. The student will be injected with a contrast medium with an intravenous line in the student's hand to give more detail of the images. The participant will remove any jewelry, metal, or electronic items they have on them. Next, the participant will be on a movable exam table, and their head will be put in a device designed to keep them still. The participant will then be transitioned into the magnet of the MRI unit. The researcher will perform the imaging test on a computer outside of the exam room. The participant's eyes will be closed during the procedure, which will last an hour. When the procedure is complete, the IV will be removed from the participant's hand. The analysis of functional neuroimaging will be the software used for the analysis of the brain images. Once the test results and the brain images are produced, the researcher will analyze the serotonin levels and levels of activity in the anterior cingulate cortex, hippocampus, and medial prefrontal cortex. The serotonin levels and levels of activity in these areas of the brain will be recorded and compared between the control group and experimental group. When the participants meet every 6 months, they will also answer the Brief Symptom Inventory 18 that is used to assess anxiety, depression, and somatization. This 5-point Likert type scale ranges from 1 for not at all to 5 for extremely. A sample item for this questionnaire is, in the past 3 months, how much discomfort has feeling suddenly scared for no reason caused you? The effectiveness of the treatment through the app, Peaceful Reminders, will be based on the serum serotonin level test, fMRI images, and the responses to the Brief Symptom Inventory 18. The statistical test being used will be a paired sample t-test. This test will test the effectiveness of the app through the serum serotonin level test. The paired sample t-test will allow the researcher to examine the possible increase in serotonin levels in the participants. Each participant's serotonin levels will be analyzed before they begin the treatment. The results will be compared to their serotonin levels after the treatment to evaluate differences between the tests. The null hypothesis will have the true mean difference between the paired samples equals 0 and state that there is no difference in serotonin levels. The alternative hypothesis will have the true mean difference between the paired samples be greater than 0 and state there is an increase in serotonin levels. The fMRI images will be examined to observe any change in activity in the anterior cingulate cortex, hippocampus, and MPFC, and the responses to the Brief Symptom Inventory will be examined to determine students' anxiety, depression, and somatization. A strength of this study is the linking of technology and depression of college students. The researcher used the fact that college students use their phones 8 to 10 hours every day to treat depression in a way that is most relatable to them. Another strength is the utilization of an fMRI. This brain imaging is allowing the researcher to locate which parts of the brain are most active during periods of depression and periods of happiness, thus allowing the researcher to determine the app's possible effect. A limitation is the observation of serotonin levels in the experiment. Currently, it has yet to be proven if serotonin levels directly affect depression or if depression directly affects serotonin levels. The researcher accounts for this by observing serotonin levels along with the activity in the specified parts of the brain and through utilizing the questionnaire. The ethical issues were also accounted for when the researcher asked the participants' consent and informed them of the procedure. The researcher does not intend to cause any harm to the participants. This research is vital for the treatment and prevention of depression in college students. Depression in college students is extremely prevalent and research needs to be done to treat it. By using a serum serotonin level test, fMRI, and the Brief Symptom Inventory 18, the researcher is comparing serotonin, brain activity, and psychological evaluations to determine whether the app treated the participants' depression. These methods allow the researcher to evaluate the relationship between physiological processes and the observable behaviors within the participants. If this app is statistically proven to treat and prevent depression among college students, it will be able to leave a revolutionary impact on the college student population. In addition, it will also be a gateway to evaluating a clearer relationship between serotonin and depression.